talking about the. I don't know, parking lot.
It's a new station.
Oh, really? Which one?
Right next to me, Channel 9.
Was I not gonna get any news here today?
We're going to-
Yeah, I'm like,
It's not gonna be,
pretty much any information they need, they could get already.
Right, yeah. Interesting.
Jesus. You want one of these two, Mark?
Oh, yes.
In the garage before it came out here? Oh, I don't eat. Where's Quill?
Besides, I got oil burner or LP?
It's LP.
Oh.
And yes, there's gas.
Oh, God. So. No, it's all good. I'm not sick yet this year. I haven't gotten anybody around me sick yet either, so. I need to go. Morning. Good morning.
Well, cool one.
Well, it's also good in the fact that not a lot of crease up on the ground.
Yeah.
They weren't out much, so that's nice. A little bit nervous about the type of bars coming, right?
As far as I know.
Oh, yeah. There's five. Oh, there's like five. Yeah. Hey, they big enough.
Yeah.
My name, I didn't become really popular. My name became really popular.
Dan, I'm not gonna be able to fill it 10 minutes, I don't think.
Do your best.
You don't want me to do the jig in front of everybody, do you?
Just want to get out of here because of the outcome from yesterday. Yeah, please.
Expected to.
Entertain us.
I do my best entertainment when I don't try.
That was a beatdown. I didn't see that.
Not that bad.
Yeah, he's a Chiefs fan.
Yeah. Well, you know, I don't really worry about that too much because I have kids that are in sports and I worry more about their games than I worry about the NCAA.
And
or
you should.
professional sports. So,
Enjoy it while you can.
oh my gosh,
That's really
it's,
well.
my son had a really,
Should
have one of those games against, some freshman on Saturday, so. Yeah.
Seems like yesterday we were going to games and next weekend we'll be at his first birthday party. So if that tells you anything on how quick.
So first, how do you be so high? Recycling's how I.
I guess, I don't, know if I need to make this public, but just, perhaps we can get a, closed session with all 5 of you or 6 including Ben. I'm gonna be gone Wednesday, Thursday this week, for the financial aid. Or, seminar for DOT, so I can't do it Tuesday, Thursday, but sometime this week if we
Yeah,
can.
maybe we'll discuss
Well,
that
we
quick
just-
during the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or just, it's up. Last. Before they just got. And engaged. Engaged.
Good morning.
Hey, Mark, did you see that electric bill from Alliance on recycling versus the price in the courthouse? Man. Sweet.
Hey,
I wonder where that,
well, yeah, last week.
you don't see that much usage down there other than Taylor's.
Baylor's, motors trying to start.
Probably the motors. That's the, that would get to see, I don't know. Things we got,
I could see the heat bill, but not.
yeah, that's just pure energy used for electricity.
Well, let's keep an eye on that.
Yeah. Well,
Hopefully,
they just engaged the solar, so.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, hopefully the solar.
There's his, there's recycling, there's the courthouse.
Yeah.
Whoa, wait a minute, wait a minute.
You legit full. Mine are down, but.
Oh, my.
You feel better?
What's it?
And mostly it's kind of congestion,
My.
headache. Fevers.
Not a correct one down.
It's 9:30. All those that so choose, please stick to the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the meeting to order with everyone present. First item on the agenda this morning, Mike, our county engineer with some road updates. Feel free to take it from there, Mike.
Not much has changed since, last week. Still Grant, haven't heard anything on that. Railroad flat car bridge study, still working on that subdivision. These other things get going, I will be on that. Union negotiations. They will be done on February 26th. Midway shop improvements, toilet installation is left. Mark Smith is in contact with to finalize when they're gonna be in. And then spent a lot of time, last week looking at maintenance activities for 2025. And what those look like, it's gonna be lots of different things, so. That is my report.
Where you at on
Michael, that's record
making a
time.
summary of which roads and bridges for 25, 26, so that the public can access that and see what our.
I have put that all into TKMS. I haven't finalized that.
Okay.
Last year that was done. I remember correctly, it was done in March. I can come to the next meeting with that for y'all if you would like.
Last year, I had changed the budget schedule to end of April for the county. They failed to make any changes to the code that for the county engineers report to the state. So by mid-March, we'll have to approve. Unless they've changed that again since then.
I don't know, but I'm ready to go on that.
So we'll have to approve the DOT budget and a 5-year plan. Before we've actually approved the county.
And I can send that preliminarily out to everybody at that meeting and then put that on the agenda for next week. So I'm ready for that whenever you'd like me to present that.
You were saying something about you're leaving toward the end of the week?
I do have for the financial, aid that is provided by the state and for the, federal government. We have a seminar that, the techs and I go to. That's Wednesday and Thursday down at Iowa this week, so I will be there this week. And then, I guess I'll formally request a closed session, regarding personnel, and other matters, sometime hopefully this week, if possible.
Kind of personnel talking,
Just,
because usually a closed session is not allowed unless you're talking about someone specifically and if that person requests closed session.
I guess
Otherwise, you could meet with a couple of us at a time. All you want.
I don't want to say anything right now, but I am interested in that, and if I need to go do the two at a time, I'll do that. But I would like to have that discussion with every board member at some level and yourself as well, Ben. And then, everything will be public after the conversations, but I just want to make sure that I protect the individual's privacy here. I don't want to make it public before everybody's ready.
Shirley and I will be here tomorrow. That's at 1:30, correct? We have a jailers union negotiations, so
Okay,
if you wanted to meet with us prior to that, that would work.
what time tomorrow then? I've got pretty open day.
She's
but-
checking hers.
I'm open all morning,
Okay, so I can,
up to 1:30.
How long will it take? 15 minutes?
I would say more than 15 minutes, but no more than 30. So meet at 1 maybe. I can let myself off.
12:45?
12:45, sure.
And discuss with them, and then if it's something that needs to come to the whole board, should make sure Andy knows whether it's something that should be closed
Yep.
session or not,
Sure.
because usually,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that I get discussions out there, and do it by the book for sure. Other than that, I don't really have a whole lot, a lot of continuations, a lot of working on, grants with emergency management stuff that I'm trying to prospective grants and getting our schedule out for summer. So,
If you want to talk, Ben, I can,
uh,
if you want to talk, you can just two at a time. If
Let's do-
you want to
yeah,
discuss everybody, do them first.
they're gonna do those two, he's gonna talk with those two tomorrow, and then we'll figure out from
After
there
there, okay.
what would be the next best step.
thank you. Any questions from the public?
There's a gentleman in here earlier before the meeting asking about Middle Comma Road and the, what's that on the golf course road?
Golf course.
And I
road?
said just to meet with you and ask you questions directly.
Perfect.
Anyone have anything else for Mike?
No camera on the 5-year plan is what, 29,
Yeah, that's,
maybe?
we have the full concrete replacement on there, so it's a big project. It would basically eat up all of our farm and market funds. I don't know that that's what we want to do at the time.
It's not a federal,
It's not a
Federal.
major collector. It is federal, but it's not a major collector. So. That. We might just have to make sure that for the upper shoreland, grants, the STG grants that, we set that aside for the next one, but. We can't do that. We have to figure, that's gonna be a hard one to figure out, so.
Is there any way to get the state to look at that differently? Because it's a collector in a sense, major collector, just taking traffic off 52.
I have a little bit of hope. There's the SS4A grant meeting in March. There is some problems on the Middle Calma Road in terms of the safety, but I don't know how to get that SS4A grant money. Right now, I don't know how to get that money applied to that road. And so that would be a discussion piece at that meeting that I would have.
Basically, when we talked about this before, the idea is, and I'm not saying that it's not a major road, but from somebody looking at a map in Washington DC, they say we got Highway 52 here, why do we need to spend federal money on this other road? Right next to it.
Then you got the auction blacktop.
Yeah.
Another bump.
And they decided that the auction blacktop is the
Next main.
Yep. Even though the traffic counts are, depending on where you're at, or higher and lower on Middle Calma, so.
Just for everyone's knowledge, in the 5-year plan, you've got the Frankville Road as our next major rehab, and then is there anything else before the Middle Calma?
42.
W42 is the SDBG funding.
Okay.
And then I forget my northern roads, but it's either, I think it's A14 east of Northwind Road. You have an overlay on that, and then we have hopefully the raised grant will be W14 South, and then we have
I put
W20 north of A18 there.
Yeah.
So next week, when we go through the 5-year plan, we can see
So-
these. Oh,
But those are the paving situations that I have on my docket, on my to-do list. So.
A conversation with Mike Clemish's office may be in order since he's part of the Transportation Committee of the Senate
Okay.
and direct contact a lot with the Iowa DOT. Since they have a lot of connection, let's say.
Okay.
Maybe there's some help there that could offer some relief.
Is he going, do you know if he's going to Hiawatha? Should I give him an invite?
You could give him an invite, but I would guess that because of the in session right now and
Okay.
Probably not.
Yeah, if he's in session, probably not. So,
that there may be, that may be a vehicle.
to be honest, I could probably just get a PDF of the pamphlet that they send out and send it over to him. So,
Talk to Ben in his office,
okay,
Ben Clemish.
okay.
Maybe that would help us.
All right. Well, no one has anything else tonight?
Just traffic counts, how often are those done?
The traffic counts will be done for 2025 this year. They'll be, the data that we're using right now is in 2021, every 4 years.
Would be
Yeah, those
interesting on
different
Kelmer Road, the actual traffic count now as compared to.
4 years ago, yes. So that's the data that I use is that 4 years, that from 4 years ago. So
So maybe it has changed.
And you're in the office today.
I am.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Consent agenda.
I've got the minute claims, the servers monthly review, and a liquor license for the Bluffton Bar.
I'd move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Just up on there, that monthly fee for the, from Centec for the VHS building, that's $700 some, that's correct.
I don't know. I don't manage it.
$798.
That's the monthly phone bill there.
So that's something we potentially will have going away.
Yes.
That's significant.
The other, I think,
I mean, I knew it was big, but that's like,
I think that other CSB on there is the repainting of,
Yeah.
for DHS. That was done in there.
Yeah, that's gonna be a bonus.
Yep, that's one of the biggest monthly expenses that we have there that we should be able to get rid of completely.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Report is report. That's Tuesday.
Any committee reports?
The 911 Wednesday night, that was just budget.
Final budget
Public
approval.
hearing. It's 7 minutes.
We'll be doing more negotiations this week with the jailers and then rural housing trust fund meeting on Wednesday. There's a planning and zoning meeting here, 7 PM Tuesday night. That I put I think it's the January summary report for Northeast Iowa Community Action on the table over there. If anybody would like to see their report from January. They're, once again, doing excellent work in serving this community.
Historic Commission met on Saturday and they're working on putting together an event later this fall around the time of Rendezvous for historical and bringing in speakers down for Fort Atkinson, the relationship of the fort, indigenous people and things like that. Probably a one day event, drawing statewide.
Is that gonna be part of the rendezvous?
That's to be worked out. It would be nice if it was, but it may be something separate. Depends on how they can work it out with the city. And
Yes.
what they're trying to accomplish and bringing in speakers and so forth.
If they, I think they have it, but if they need contact for the Ho-Chunk or Winnebago tribe.
Elizabeth
got it.
Lawrence is on there and she helped
She's
arrange
got it.
walk-on to come and for their event. So that was discussed on Saturday also. Because they can involve, because of the connection between the fort
Yep.
and all of the tribal aspects of it, that they're trying to bring that all together. So what they're planning on is a real plus. They expect to bring in quite a few people and they'll hold it down in Fort.
Public Health Wednesday at 3:30. Then February 26th, we're gonna meet with DHS supervisors again. 10:30.
Workforce Development Board met on Thursday, all Zoom call because of weather and so forth. But they just more trying to figure out what they're doing with budgets and the rest of that. So nothing earth shaking. Just a lot of reports over 2 hours.
I have 2 meetings tomorrow at the same time. Don't know how that's gonna work. Conservation Board and then the jailers. One starts at 1 and one starts at 1:30. So, if we're meeting with Mike, it's not gonna work at all, so. Anything else? And on that 26th is when we have the secondary
Union,
department
yeah.
negotiations also.
Yep.
You said, when was DHS gonna make their final move? HSS,
We're still talking about
No final.
because somebody was down there assembling desks the other day, so.
where
Maybe services.
that was moving them because they're painted. So
And putting them.
Yeah, they had to tear some of them off the wall and move them out, so
Okay.
paint behind it.
Yeah, Chuck's been reinstalling them back where they were.
I was in there last week. That building is looking very nice.
They're doing that part of it looks good. The other part, we still got some challenges over there on the other side where the two other occupants are. That's, and have you been back in that garage area
No,
in the back? Have you been back there?
Oh, yeah.
Is it cleaned out a lot?
Oh, yeah, we all got stuff out of it. I mean, that was earlier.
Yeah.
Last fall. All the bunch of machines, yeah.
I think there's some inefficiency from the center of the building that
Yes.
that would be a benefit to everybody to address. But yeah, building's looking great.
Yeah, that fresh paint really helps boost it up.
There is, Judge Parrish did on the courthouse itself, Judge Parrish asked about, she had a number of more high profile trials coming in. There's repairs in the courtroom that need to be made where we've had the water damage and so forth. We've got ceiling tiles and wall paint and a number of different things that need to be done. A better solution than trying to put in mismatched tiles, which are never going to match the color of the existing. We have a portion, if you notice in the courtroom, a portion of it is T-bar ceiling with 2x4 lay-ins. The other half of the courtroom is old 12-inch acoustic tiles. A much better solution at least would be to remove that portion and extend the T-bar and continue it across with a T-bar ceiling and not even waste the money on trying to clean up that what's there. I mean, we could fill the holes. We got literal holes through the ceiling right there. But we probably ought to look at a better solution because it's not very attractive.
No.
Well, and the drop ceiling isn't horribly expensive.
It's not, it's much more cost effective to do that. It's almost like throwing good money after bad.
So
to do
even if we
that.
got a restoration grant,
Ask John if he would get us a quote to see if we could find out what could be done to.
That's a temporary,
No, well, more than,
we have long-term, the goal is to
restore it.
restore it, but that might be several years, so we need
Yeah.
something to,
the temporary would be more, the best temporary fix, I think, would be just the
drop.
T-bar.
Yeah.
Drop a T-bar ceiling, remove that existing, and that's gonna require adding some lighting that ought to be in there and change some LED on that portion of it, but
Give it a fresh look.
clean it up, just clean it up, because we've got areas where the water damage over the jury box, and we got walls with paint gone. And it's,
If you guys have not been in our courtroom, good for you, but it's worth going to look and see the damage that we've got going on, and it's an ongoing issue. We're trying to address it, but that's what we're talking about.
Oh, and we've got some, there was been some conversation by the judge that she wanted to replace the seating in there, and I don't know that that's necessarily our responsibility to provide new chairs in there, Ben.
Question
I
for the
don't know
state.
that, I don't think that would be the case, but that's a total ignorant yes. But I do think the carpeting is also something that's it's had many years of wear. So we may have look at that as a separate issue, but it's definitely in need. There is one, the judge is hiring a new clerk of the court, I think it is, or who will offer, back in this back upper corner back here, there's single office back there. And she asked John if he would repaint that and replace that carpet in there for the new hire that's coming in her department, which is a small thing. It's about a 12 by 12 office. So that's a minor thing, and he's going to get that handled.
All right. Well, it's past 9:50. Got a couple miscellaneous items. First of all, which is consideration, action, and support for these graves at cemeteries. We discussed this a little bit last week. Is there any thought on that?
What was it?
$3 is what it's been per grave
99.
since at least 99, when we went back that far in our computer system.
I think it's a reasonable
What
ask
is,
that he
what
mentioned,
is-
excuse me, I was talking, Mark. I think it's a reasonable ask that he mentioned $1 a year, the next 2 or 3 years to bring us up to a more reasonable amount to help with that. And I would be in favor of doing $1 for next year, going up to $4.
What does the $3 cost us per year right now?
About $9,500, just under 10,000. It's actually in this Department 48 budget, which we'll go through here in a little bit. It's on the front page. It's 9,200 actually. In the current year, we have $9,200, so I put in the first run 12,500, which would give you enough to bump it by $1 and be in the first run. But you could do more or not do it, and we can update that afterwards.
Since it's been so long, I would say we bump it more than a
I
dollar.
would say $2 would be 15,000, yeah, that's $6,000 or do 3.
Does that fit into? the
They
budget?
can, they can use the money to, it's a very well needed.
That's the right thing to do.
It's such a small amount, it probably won't affect your budget too much. It'll, when I do a second run, it'll show a little bit less. Very cool.
So what's the,
I'd say
What's the
2
number?
or 3. 2 for sure, if not 3, I mean.
what's the number?
Right,
I'll
but
make a motion
I
to
do
increase
too.
it by $2 for this year,
I would second the 2.
but that's it, but talk about it year for year. I'm not saying do it for 2 to 3 years. $2 this year.
I think since we potentially would have money this year, we should just do the 2. And it's there.
And starting FY 26. The
Yes.
next budget
budget.
year.
All right, we have a motion and a second to raise the support for the veterans' graves at the cemetery by an amount of $2 beginning FY 26. Is there any further discussion?
Who seconded it?
Me.
Mark.
Thank you.
Not, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Next miscellaneous item, action on hiring recycling supervisor.
Well, we had interviews, made a candidate selection, made an offer. We had a memorandum of understanding done by Andy Vandermotten. There's the memorandum of understanding that says this turns out to be a transfer of an existing county employee from one department to another. And there had been rumors in the past about the recycling center being closed, which the recycling center is something that is not going to go away. We need a recycling center. It may change in some of the ways that it works. So we wanted to leave that opportunity or assure the new hire that there would still be a position available in the county since they've been here for a lengthy period of time. Mark,
I would-
fill in.
Yeah, so I think it's a good move. The candidate fit all of most of the criteria we're looking at, and I think smooth transition. The starting date would be, I believe it's the 24th.
I think I talked to him this morning and he said that he was looking at March 3rd.
Oh, March 3rd now, okay, which is fine. I know he had some vacation and stuff planned in there. So, we mentioned the candidate's name when we make the
Well, we're
motion.
gonna approve the hire, you will.
Okay,
How was the salary?
pardon?
How was the salary figured?
Basically, that's a lateral move where he's at right now. Based on his
On the
overtime
matrix that put him in
in the matrix.
step 11 on that position.
It's step 8, but yes.
Step 8.
Yep.
But it's a basic,
It could have been higher, but because of the technicalities and stuff, we all agreed that was a fair transition point.
a plus, I think, on on his hire is he comes with a lot of depth of county experience. And I think that his management skills will help bring that department around.
And he does have a CDL, so which
Yeah.
is,
And we've not had a manager with a CDL, which allows for that fill in and extra skill set that's a plus. Then maybe our goal of being able to using rotating positions through there to where they're not always doing the same thing, much as the landfill does, I think is a real plus.
I think with this hire, that we, did last week through the interviews, we're gonna be hitting the ground running with that county knowledge and management skills.
And cooperation, I think, is important between, there's a natural vehicle to cooperate between between the road department and so forth, the various slap over services that are gonna be a plus for us. And that's an easy bridge to go across.
So that would be going in, that'd be his 26 wage then. Would be getting a step up raise and.
He would get it effective March 3rd, but it would be he wouldn't get a step on July 1. Would not, because anything, starting January 1st, you have to wait an extra
Year, okay.
year.
Yeah, he wouldn't get it. That's
Right,
right.
you'd be at that same step.
Yeah.
You'd get whatever increase you give across the board, but no step increase.
he's almost stepped out anyway.
Yeah,
He's been there for a while.
Stepped out.
my opinion is, I think it's a good hire overall.
I
I agree.
should I make a motion?
Yes,
Okay, I would motion that we hire Jeff Kuboshik as the supervisor at the recycling
Yeah,
center.
I'd second that.
We have a motion and a second for the hiring of Jeff Kuboshik for Recycling Supervisor. Is there any further discussion? If not, this resolution. All those in favor, say aye.
I,
Those opposed? Unanimous decision.
If you're watching, congratulations, Jeff, new manager.
Take a recess.
I guess we'll do some budget stuff if
Yeah.
you want.
Yeah.
Department 48, which I alluded to a few minutes ago. This is the department that we have all of the non-departmental things, the things that are countywide or don't apply to a specific department. This is going to be where most of your payments to organizations are in here. Things like insurance, forms we buy, countywide, paper, copier contracts, those kind of things are all in here that are countywide rather than specifically department. So as you go through this, like on the first page, there's that hazmat support about halfway down, 50,000. This is money you put in the budget just in case there's ever a hazmat spill. So we have some money to help with the cleanup. Basically, we don't spend it each year, so it kind of just carries over from year to year, but it's there if we ever need it. And most of these first few pages are payments to organizations.
One question, that doesn't stay there and accumulate year to year.
No. It rolls out and then we just add it back in, so. Grade markers there, that one will go up. I'll have to raise that one another
25.
23, yeah,
Yeah, about 30, make it.
33, and
15.3.
yeah, I'll raise that again appropriately to cover the $5. I didn't know what to put in there for the first run. Otherwise, those are payments to organizations that you went through last week. Second page, same way. I just put in a number halfway down the second page is, you can see the opioid litigation settlement funds. I don't know if we'll get to the point where we're offering major services through that or not, but I put some money in there as for spending, but we can always amend that. That money is accumulating, so it's available.
I'll be, the task force is working together proposal for me to bring to this board for approval for some spending out of that. And you should be looking for that in the next couple of months.
Page 3 is all payments to organizations. Page 4, 4-H. And then there's township officers payments. So those are payments to the clerks and trustees when they have their meetings. The bottom one is labor relations services. So this is when we contract with the attorneys that we hired in, like when we redid our employee manual or other special projects that they help us with. So that's that. I actually lowered that a little bit. I didn't use them a lot in the current year, so I figured we could probably go a little bit less on that one, from 25,000 down to 15,000. Next is just miscellaneous things. The life insurance policy we buy for each employee is there. Employee assistance program, another program we provide for the employees. The county car, the fuel and parts for that are listed there. A lot of times if the car is used by a specific department, they'll fill it up out of their fuel line, but there's some money there just in case. County audit, actuarial opinion, all that stuff is parts of financial procedures. Next page is where we get a bunch of those kind of miscellaneous county-wide expenses like stationery forms. That's where we're going to order our W-2s and 1099s
Goes back on the
countywide. Yep.
previous page on DHS. The $4,500 expense.
That's what when we get payments, we have an indirect cost analysis done by a company, and they take everything from portion of the time the auditor's office spends in the electricity and power in the courthouse, things that we do that indirectly cost some to help manage the Department of Human Services office. And they charge us to prepare that report. As part of their guarantee is that they'll never charge us more than what we're going to get back. So this is about how much it costs each year, and it varies how much we get back from 5,000 to 15,000. But
They're 35%
yeah,
payback.
yeah, that's about right. But we might as well play them as much as we can, and that'll still be appropriate because we're still processing those payments and things. So next page, like I said, is a bunch of the just miscellaneous things: postage, telephone services, the copier contractors at the top of page 7, those kinds of things that are countywide expenses. You can see on page 7, 3 lines down, American Rescue Plan, that's the remainder of the money in that fund that's already allocated and just needs to be spent up. It had to be allocated by the end of 2024 and has to be spent by the end of 2026. We should have it mostly gone by next year. This Festina sewer project is still showing up as in and out because as they've been building, we pay the bills and then we make claims to their loan and their grants and so on. So that's showing in and out. That's when we get to the overall budget look, when you see, wow, look, our expenses have gone down quite a bit. Well, a big chunk of that is that Festina sewer money is not coming through our budget anymore. So that does make it look like our budget is bigger than it is because it isn't in and out, but that's been over half a million.
With that Stein Sewer project, I know they were gonna do, it would be on this year's, but the signage, did that ever get taken
They
care
didn't
of?
have to, like a few days after they told us what the signage requirements were, they got notification from the federal government that the signage was no longer required, so we
Save some money.
Save some money putting up the signs. A lot, insurance payments there for liability, countywide liability, auto coverage, real property insurance, so on, work comp.
Who's that insurance through? Is that through?
ICAP.
ICAP.
ICAP is our property insurance and IWCA is our work comp insurance. We did look last year. I know you had talked to another agent. Basically, there are no other companies that are even offering insurance for a county entity like ours. So
Did
we
we get
couldn't even get them to submit a proposal.
an upcharge on liability and property insurance this year? Are we?
I think last year we were getting the rumblings of how much it was gonna be increase, and there were a few of the lines I didn't increase enough for the current year, so I had to bump them up a little more for next year, like, you can see they're like auto damage, I went from 70 to 90, because it ended up being higher than what I guessed last year at this time, but for the most part, no, everyone's insurances are going up, but the real property insurance is the big one because of natural disasters all over the country. It affects real property insurance everywhere.
More fortunate, we only have to pay a flat fee.
Yes,
For brokerage.
yeah,
Appropriate.
yeah. That's a significant savings. The ICAP has calculated in the percentage of every fee that's goes to our agent, the commission fee. So they subtract that out and then just charge us a flat fee, and that's usually close to double what they're actually,
What they charge us,
they charge us, yeah.
it's 12.
12,000, yeah, we pay, and it's usually in the 22, 23,000 if we just paid the ICAP's built-in commission rather than what they charge us. On page 8 or 9, there's a few things that are just in and out, like Borough, Bethsaida, and Frankville deposit money from their monthly service fees with us so that when their loans come due, we have the money available. So it shows both as an expense and a revenue of the same amount. So there isn't really an effect on that. The bottom line there on page 9 is has, I put 500,000 in there. The 7,500 is the interest that'll come due on our last payments to Spectrum, and 250,000 of that will be our last payment to Spectrum. I put another 250 in there just as a guess for what we might get when we sell the building. So you'll see that you'll see 500,000 in the revenue and then that amount for spending it. Go to the revenue side. So again, like this top one is local option sales tax. I increased that 20% from the current year, just seeing the trend over the last few years. It's probably still a little conservative, but I would rather end up with more money than come up short. So I figured a 20% increase was probably a good start. You can see there that there's the corresponding revenue to that line you asked about earlier, Mark. The DHS is the fourth one down. So in the current year, we only got $4,500 back for the $4,300 investment we made, but some years it ends up being more. You can see the year before we were in the 17,000 range. So.
And according to what they say, the formula is we are not allowed to include any space value. In other words, if the typical lease rate is $10 a foot per year, which would mean that building would be 72,000 in rental income, we have no
way to
get
reclaim
recourse
that.
on that.
No.
I'm making an inquiry through our state senator to get an understanding as to how that is set up that way, and if there is if that is just something that's happening, or if there is any legislative authority to do so, because he was aghast at hearing what we were having to pay for as an unfunded mandate. When I had that discussion with him, he was completely caught off guard, and he is the chairman of the Health and Human Services, the committee of the Senate. And so I think he may help getting us an answer, and I certainly hope we get some relief on that.
We have the rental incomes from some of our properties there, the $1 a years and so on. Wellington pays a little extra since they're using our internet. Postage reimbursements, so we buy all the postage out of the general fund, but then we charge back to like the road department or the assessor's office, their portion of it, so that the clerk of courts, they reimburse us some of that. That shows up there. We have the lease at the Verizon cell tower that's on our property. You can see some of those in and outs there for the Pasadena, Frankville, Borough. And then that very bottom line is the sale of the building. We have the $1 in the current year from the sale of the Smith building. So now I put 500 in there. It's just something to show the sale of that.
Where's the land rent from?
For the farmland, that's in Department 27, would have been one of the first things I handed out back in the beginning of December. We track that one separately because sometimes there's some expenses that offset that sum, like we have to pay property tax on it, kind of thing.
That continuation on Freeport ag land was just a 1-year continuation.
Yep.
So that'll be up.
So, yeah, so next fall we'll have to, and I mentioned it to Andy, we'll both have to try to remember we'll have to give them a notice that
Before September 1st.
yeah, our lease is up, and then winter will.
That notice is ready to go. I've got it on the calendar for after. So we'll get it
Yeah.
taken care of earlier rather than.
And rebid it next year. I don't know if you want to start looking at the first run paperwork, or you maybe want to wait till after. I don't know if we have enough time to get through that, or what do you want to do?
Might as well start, we have 5 minutes.
Looks like this. A bunch of copies. So the front page is kind of the nuts and bolts of the whole thing. It kind of recaps all of those department budgets, payments to organizations, everything we put in, combines all of that, all of those expenses and revenues with our projected ending fund balances from the current year and what we would be looking at as far as fund balances at the end of next FY 26. And so that's really how we set our budget, is we want to project out that we're in that 25 to 30% carryover range. And so sometimes we don't know until I run the first run what it is. We must have done a very good job as far as our budgeting being. We had, I think every department submitted a budget without payroll. Not considering payroll, nobody asks for increases in their total budget, so that helped. And you were careful all along the way not to make increases that were more than you needed to be, so our first run actually came out right where it needs to
Pretty
be.
impressed.
Right where it needs to be. So that's the general fund, that's the big one, the one that we really have to keep an eye on, like I showed. Over here on the left side, it shows the 2 years ago, then the current year, and then next year, and you can see that the total expenses are down significantly, and excuse me, big chunk of that is that Pasadena sewer money not going through our budget anymore. So our total expenses are down. Our revenues don't show the decrease because we had increases in revenue from like the fees in the treasurer's office and interest and so on that made up what the Festina revenue got subtracted out. So actually that revenue doesn't look much different, but we're replacing that 500,000 with actual revenue rather than an in and out revenue. So that's why it actually turned out halfway decent here. The supplemental fund is not restricted. That one you could theoretically raise or lower the levy rate if you needed to. It's sitting a little over the 30%, but it also shows that we've been losing a little bit of balance there. I don't think we need to necessarily make a change on that for the current year, but that would be up to you. We'll have next year, we'll have some relief in that fund because the 900,000, the last big 900,000 payment for the 911 towers are running through that fund to emergency management. And so that's still included in here. So a year from now, when you're doing this, you'll have the remainder, I think 250 to 300,000 payments. So you'll be able to look at some extra money, depending on if there's changes in at the legislature or not. It may be that you can lower that levy rate some next year because that'll be much higher than you need it to be. But for this year, it's still, I left it at the same amount as last year. And then the rural fund, again, is significantly more than what you need for a carryover, but there isn't a lot of money in that fund anyway, other than the transfer to the roads. So you can see there, there's 16 or 1.6 million of expenses, but there's 2.7 million in the transfer to the roads. So that carryover only is going to last you so long. With the way the restrictions currently are, every year our new money is going to be less than what our transfer to the roads is. So that's going to eat away at that as the years go by. That is the restricted lowered amount according to the Senate File 718 or 2442 and House File 718. That's the maximum you can levy, and I would just recommend staying at the max for now on that one.
And that was a question I was gonna ask, because in the general fund, the way you ran it, it comes in at 444, and the last 2 years, we've had 448. If we would lower that to 444, is it
This is
fixed at that rate?
This is our new maximum rate.
Well, this is.
This is the rolled back amount using that 101%. Yeah,
So it has to be.
that's the max. You could go less, but
You can't go
you
more.
can't go more than that. That's our new max.
But
So
then if we went less, then next year.
then you can't bring it back up. No.
Yeah. That's what I was.
If we could.
Yeah, and that's actually, I rounded it to the nearest cent but it's calculates out to about 5 or 6 decimal places to a maximum. Yeah. So yeah, we're looking at page 3 or the second piece of paper where it shows those levy rates. So the general fund rate and the rural fund rate are the new maximums as calculated using the restrictions in the current law. So those cannot go higher than that. The supplemental, I just used the same amount as last year, which you could consider raising or lowering if you thought you needed to. I think it turned out actually pretty good.
But that potentially will come under restriction.
It could, we don't know what the legislature is going to end up doing. That's the main reason I wouldn't lower it this year.
I was gonna say, yeah.
If they decide to restrict that like they did the other ones, you might as well have it at the higher rate right now.
Because that's the same thing we did to rural
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
2 years ago.
Yep.
But we may have capital improvements that we need to look at and equipment
Yep.
replacements and things like that, that is where it's
Gonna have to.
gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
The other couple pages are just a review of your funding for the first run, and then the back page was the review of valuation.
So this ending in the general, there's no infrastructure money and no infrastructure fund.
Only what's in there is that 500,000, half of which is for the.
The
Payment.
payment, okay.
Yeah. There's no
There's no,
other
there's
leftover.
no extra figured in anywhere.
No, nothing.
All right, Andy's been sitting over there waiting patiently, and he is next on the agenda. Good morning,
More
Andy.
important things to do today. And we're doing it. You have anything for me?
I do.
I will let you get back to your more important things.
We'll have that Dairyland power easement public hearing in a few minutes. That's the only thing we have yet.
You want me to stick around for that? It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Unless you just want to describe it quick, Andy.
Well, they're putting in a distribution system, or replacing distribution line, I think, over a small parcel of property that the county owns by virtue of, I assume, a tax sale that on property that never got sold, so the county, it defaults to the county. If I recall correctly, I think it's like an 80-foot wide strip across there. They're adding a distribution line on top of an existing service line, I believe. And I think that the designee from Dairyland is going to be on the call here to talk about it if they're not here already. So if that's the case, they can give you better detail probably than I can in terms of location, how it fits, but it is strictly an easement across property for poles, wires.
If we approve the resolution that you provided for the right-of-way easement, should we go ahead and sign the easement as well, or should we save that for some kind of like closing date or?
I think you can sign both today, and they'll send you a check for $200. You send them the easement, they can record it.
We talked about, once this easement's finalized, abandoning the property. Is that something you recommend or not?
Well, I mean, we can go through the process again of either selling it or giving it to an adjoining property owner or dividing it between two adjoining property owners. It's a process that we've done with other property. Essentially, it gets it back on the tax roll, gets it out of county ownership.
Is it landlocked or is there a road that goes?
I think it is. There's a road that splits it, actually. There's a little bit of both sides of the road over there and not, get that here for a while.
If a property comes into with no known ownership, this is the question that came up to me. If there was a piece of property somehow ended up, there's a triangular piece of land down in the adjoining town that the company that owned it by record dissolved in 1917.
Yeah.
Did that get resolved so that they have an understanding of how to proceed?
I visited the city attorney about that, because it is in Calmer. I mean, and my suggestion was that she follow up on that triangular piece to see if that did end up in county ownership or at least in county name. Because given that passage of time, it's unlikely that taxes have been paid throughout, and it's more likely that it passed to the county somewhere in the last 98.
It's been 107 years.
What town was that dissolved?
It's adjacent to a property that the city had to condemn and demolish a house and then take ownership and then offered it for sale to the public. And it turns out that this triangular piece is between the road and that property. It was unknown to anyone, but came up via the abstract or something.
Yeah, I mean, it was the access to that parcel that the city acquired, and I think they're looking at resolving it by trying to figure out if the county ended up with it. And if that's the case, you may end up with a request from the city of Calhoun to convey it to them.
Yeah, it's kind of an unusual, very unusual situation. The such and such wagon company has not been heard of since 1917 or 18 or something of that nature.
Well, and the fact that, maybe the city goes back and redoes their abandoned property or whatever they utilize to acquire the original site. Maybe should have included that in it at the time, but they just weren't aware of it.
Yep. Well, thank you, Andy. That was kind of an unusual question at their city council meeting on Monday.
I know they're working through it, so we'll see where they get.
Thank you, Andy.
Yep. I was, because you go to a number of the council meetings in the southern part, are there any more sewer water projects coming down the pike that are gonna have to be taken care of?
I don't think so. The last thing that appears to be hanging right now, Mark, is a leak in the sewer pond in Ridgeway that they're trying to.
And that's their problem, not the
That's
county.
their problem, not the county's.
Yeah.
They're trying to work through to find out if it was the result of the new construction that occurred, or if it appears that it was probably a leak that has been existing, but through wet years was not noticed that there was an actual leak. So that's up in the air, but as far as that, there's nothing on sewer. There is, of course, a water issue in one community called Spillville.
Yeah.
They're probably the last sewer one now, Ridgeway is. No, you guys got to do that.
That's something we don't want to talk about.
But yeah, we're getting down there. Burr Oak's done, Festina's done,
What about
Fort's done.
Castelia?
Castelia was done a few years back. Washington's definitely the oldest one.
Sewer or
Still
water?
got that.
Sewer.
Sewer.
Our water isn't so bad. I mean, Castelia's had a lot of breaks on their, like 3 or 4 already this winter on their main. So, yeah.
Bigger problem in those towns is the need of, there's probably 3 city clerk positions that are open or will be open. And that's a challenge for all those small communities.
Yes, it is.
Just hope they stay incorporated.
Let's hope they stay incorporated.
Otherwise, we're, yeah.
Real pinch.
Yeah.
All right.
Have they thought about advertising aggregately for a clerk that could be shared amongst them?
That has been discussed.
I mean, because there's somebody said who does bookkeeping or whatever, this would be a great
Well, but the difference,
big one.
it sounds like a relatively simple
No.
solution. The issue being the difference between private sector accounting and public accounting
Yeah.
that relates to government. And it's a whole different,
Steve and I were having that exact.
Because there are
conversation last
retired
week.
people out there that used to do public accounting now.
if there's opportunities, if any of those folks that may be listening want to throw your hat in the ring. Spillville is advertising and getting ready to interview on, I think, the 14th or next week, this week or next week. Austin has a need. Probable that Ridgeway will have a need based on their clerk is ready to retire. Even Protivin may have a need. Currently, they still have a clerk, but she would like to retire.
And some of that comes on what programs they use within the cities. If
Yeah.
it's the same one, well, then you could have one individual run both. of them.
Different software.
A little tricky. All right, moving on. Next item on the agenda, public hearing for Dairyland Power Easement.
I motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to open the public hearing. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, public comment.
You have the individual.
Very good here.
Hi,
Introduce yourself, please. and-
okay, do you want me to stand up or?
You up there.
Okay,
You are being recorded.
okay, perfect. So my name is Elizabeth
and I'm from Dairyland Power Cooperative out of La Crosse, Wisconsin. I'm a right-of-way agent for Dairyland, and today I am here for to acquire an updated easement on a quarter-acre property parcel for our upcoming fiber project. Our project is running from just south of Decorah up to Harmony. And what we are doing is installing a new static wire. The current static, the new static wire has fiber optics running in it. It has 72 strands of fiber optics, so they'll take the old wire off and replace it with this new static wire. The project starts in June and runs to December. We are asking, there's already a current easement out there. The reason we're asking for updated easements is because they predate that communication technology. So the old easements don't mention communication rights. The new easements also allow us for third-party rights. So if we would ever want to sell any of those 72 strands of fiber to a communication company that uses it for broadband internet, they would be able to buy off of our fiber. The idea is that we're spreading the fiber, like this project's 35-ish miles, 30 miles. So we'll have 30 miles of fiber up in the air to get it spread out in the rural communities. So it's called like the middle mile. Restoration to any damage will be done after the project is completed. I think I've covered everything. Questions?
Are you installing new poles or?
No, nothing else is changing. It's just, just the wire. I have an example here. This is static wire. It's not energized. It's the very top wire. It protects the conductor, the 3 wires that do have electricity running through them from lightning. And then the 72 strands of fiber are within the middle of it. So it'll still do the same purpose that we need for our systems. And it will protect the conductor on lightning still, but it has this fiber in it. Dairyland Power will use the fiber to communicate substation to substation. Yeah.
You're basically replacing the overhead. In the overhead transmission line, you're replacing one cable.
Yes, that's right. So it's transmission. So it's a transmission line. It's already existing. We're just replacing one cable.
Pretty simple.
The crew, the project itself, the construction crew will have to touch each pole twice. They go up and take the old static wire out of its clip. They put in a traveling dolly. They're going to use the old wire to pull the new wires through. They'll go through the traveling dollies, and then once the new wire's in, they'll clip it back into place. So they touch each pole twice.
Simple.
Simple.
Talking.
Again, the project, it'll take them about 6 months to get from just south of Decorah and Nordness substation up to the Harmony substation.
So this one actually has fiber transmission lines in the middle of it, where the old one doesn't.
It's not, well, it's just fiber optics, not transmission. The transmission is the electricity.
Okay.
Okay, this is just fiber on the transmission power pole.
Does anyone have any other
Any
questions?
sort of revenue sharing, we get it and sell it?
No. I am offering $200 administration fee to do paperwork though. The administration fee is to cover, well, for your time to do paperwork with me. It's not, since it's already existing, we're not purchasing an easement per se, since there's already an easement in place.
Does
It's
that
really,
cover-
it's
does
an
it cover-
update of paperwork.
Does that cover the attorney's attorney's fees for all of his work,
Yeah.
checking out the easement?
Yes, we can cover attorney fees.
Okay,
That's up to,
Bigger.
that's up to our,
Yeah.
that's up to our
we can
attorney.
Do that, if that's something you guys are interested in. Any other questions?
I have none.
It's a public hearing of their
Yeah,
questions.
is there anyone online with any public questions or comment?
I motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is now closed.
So then there's a resolution approving the easement, right of way easement.
Someone like to take action?
Just, if we did, does this require any, will affect the easement if we decided to abandon or sell a property?
Whoever takes it, take it subject to the easement.
Yeah, easements are perpetual, so they run with the land.
I move to approve the easement resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution for an updated Dairyland power easement. Is there any further discussion? It is a resolution.
Aye.
Shirley,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
and I also passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Yeah, but this one, I don't sign that one.
Please see the attorney for any bills.
Yeah, that's fine.
And that's.
Easy words there, it's just.
Oh, just.
Talking earlier, and I think we're gonna leave the two, check the listing fees.
I will, and if you.
This lady represents of Dairyland Power,
Okay.
and they're looking for
And I can notarize it.
35 miles of power and transmission line.
And
all she
then
would
I
do
will
is-
have, so if you guys sign the easement, I will have you sign the,
Someone's talking on there.
Optimism.
I have-
Okay, or you want to leave that?
no, that's okay.
Thanks, Andy.
I don't care
Thanks,
what.
Andy.
I'm going to have you sign the land easement payment agreement, so I can write you guys a check today.
Maybe this page here.
Yeah, I have a one with a carbon copy.
Oh, okay.
You want it made out to Winneshiek County then?
Yep.
Okay.
Did you have to go through and update 30 miles of easement?
Yeah. Some of, this line was built, the, part of it was rebuilt like in, I think I saw the 2029. So like those ones did already have this updated language on it, so it's been kind of like hit and miss. But we have 8 fiber projects. Yeah, please, and then like your title underneath. So we have 8 fiber projects running, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. I don't know what the total, it's like, in Minnesota and Iowa, I think I had like 140 miles of fiber. So there's lots of easements going on right now. A lot of our lines were built in the 40s and 50s. So most of our easements we have on file are from the 40s and 50s. Which was that, in this case, that's what this one was, this was from the 40s. Okay. So
there's
you have a signed easement over there.
No, that's this one right here.
Oh, this is this one? Okay.
Notarized.
Okay.
After you notarize it, can I want to take a copy?
Yep, I will note my stuff's in my thing. I will stamp it. Let's see. Who would be a good contact for, if there's any clearing needs, they like to get a hold of somebody before they clear danger trees out of there.
Okay, you can contact me, that's.
That'd be you, okay. You have this here? What's your phone number?
563 382
That's the
84085.
Walter. What was your name?
That's why they have those little
Can you
trailers
spell the last name?
with air conditioning.
Yeah,
That's why when you dig, you don't want to cut a fiber line.
yeah. That's.
Okay, I'm just gonna have you sign here that I'm here.
26.
We're investigating
General
through the road
code
department if
purposes.
there's any issue. We had that discussion last week about perhaps eliminating that sidewalk
And all that clearing.
going down below. And so John Halverson and checking
They
with
clear
the
it 80
secretary of the
wide.
department, with Mike Weiss, who was not in this morning. I wanted to double check if it exit requirements that would
I have to give you,
impinge on that.
notice of
There doesn't appear to be, but just double check.
2 copies. In the state of Iowa, you have 7 days to cancel this
And if
agreement.
so,
Okay.
So you hold on to it,
then
you hold on
we
to it,
need
and
to-
then
we
you,
go ahead
if
and
you
test.
decide you wanna cancel it, then, you can send it back.
John,
I'm gonna
do
give you a
that.
W-9 for the
Right,
check I'm
John.
gonna write you.
Yeah.
Do you want a map of the property? I have a map.
Okay. It's a minor detail.
Here's an envelope for the W-9. Sorry, we're doing this a little unorganized with paper. Okay. Do you want a folder for all your Dairyland Power paperwork?
Nope, I'm good,
Okay.
thank you.
I will give you all of my, business card though. So you want, would you like my card? If, there's any issues during the project, I am your contact. Okay, anybody else? You good? Okay,
You go your best for you.
okay, yes, and then,
He gets paid the big bucks.
okay, and
Then
then,
you've been doing this before.
yeah, I've been doing lots of easements. It's fun. Thank you guys for your time.
And I want to get a copy of that.
Yep, I'm gonna get my stamp and
Notary.
notarize it.
Oh, yeah, thank you, yep, I'll put that in there.
So friends, if you put on next week's agenda, perhaps we'll have an possible action. We're getting clarification on that exit, removing that exit down through the back stairway and closing that off. So I am asking Dan,
Here, yeah.
maybe we'll just have it as a board action to eliminate that for safety purposes. And we're checking to make sure that we don't have any issues through the secondary road department for egress, ingress.
Do we check with Andy then too, see if there are any other legalities?
I'll get with Andy.
I would think with our, that step over
Yeah.
here, it's going this way, you have.
Other idea to make sure we
Yeah,
know
otherwise-
before we take it out.
We don't have, if we don't take it out, then we do need to look at making some major changes there. That would be very expensive. But we don't have the same level of safety that we have on the other steps. Maybe that's the best way I can put it. Yeah, we don't want somebody injured.
But you'll be on your back.
Yep, we'll write you a check.
When you each, I know.
Pretty amazing technology that you can run that fiber inside of that grounding wire.
I asked what would happen if it does get struck by lightning, and they think that'll probably melt, but. So they might have to replace the fiber, but
Since lightning bolts are about the same as the face of the sun, I think, or temperature, I think that would be certain. And repairing those fibers in an elevated place Oops, that might be a little difficult.
Yeah.
I was looking at in there at the VHS meeting the other day when we were there for our last meeting. And are they?
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Section.
Appreciate it.
We have all.
Yeah.
There's, I think, a lot of spaces to keep. There's another, I think there's 8 spaces on that, in that one section right now. Another at least another half dozen on that area.
On the sale of the VHS, they were going to suggest if you haven't yet had a conversation with Winneshiek County Development and Tourism, Stephanie Braun. And see if they've got some connections and ideas for people that may be interested in it.
There is obviously some interest in it. That's the word.
When is the, race you're gonna look at that building?
I think you put a deadline of the
March 6th.
6th, yeah,
That's what he said.
yeah, basically a month you gave him from the time you approved it. I haven't heard back when or if he's actually gonna come and walk through, but I told him that we could make it available to do that.
At the very least, we do have architectural plans we've received back from the state of Iowa, from next door.
Do you have any more questions on the first run or what? Obviously, I just gotta have that 3,800 or whatever for the veterans graves. Do you have anything else you want changed for a second run?
If we are able to do something with that courtroom ceiling, do we have enough in the building budget to be able to handle the expenses of that?
There's 150,000 in building maintenance budget, so however many projects you think that.
I think this one out here, if we do this wall, that's a lesser, but it'll come out of, I think, this year's budget. Because that could be done relatively soon. It's not a lengthy project, not like the stairs on the other side.
But the judge wanted that done sooner than later. So
Yeah.
yes,
She was talking about her. Her courtroom doesn't look as nice as others. If you're interested, go take a look, see, you'll see what we're talking about.
There's 200,000 in the current year budget for maintenance of the buildings because we were anticipating still having the Smith building a year ago. So I mean, there's maybe money there that John can just tackle some of those projects.
I don't know, are we anticipating anything over there at DHS at this point?
Nothing.
Or, I mean,
No,
they're-
there's nothing.
we're
That's
pretty much covered there.
there. Stuff.
There will be coming up to do that third floor flooring epoxy work
and the
coming up.
stairs.
Up and the stairs going up to the third floor, where like we did the second floor, to eliminate that. That's the planning on that, I think, is again on the Easter weekend, I think on Good Friday.
Well, can we get some bids collected and see what it would cost to do that courtroom
That's
the
what
right
we're-
way?
I directed John to go that direction this morning. I think that's, we don't present our best face.
And that's with a drop ceiling throughout the whole.
Would be adding to the existing drop. It's odd because the existing drop ceiling comes halfway, about to where the wall is between the gallery and the courtroom portion. But then from there back over is the old.
Was that, does Lacrosse Acoustical do that work or who would we have to?
John's gonna pursue probably 2 or 3 different options to figure out who would be the best to come in there.
That comes above that, we're gonna have to find some money in the general fund. For the infrastructure. Come up with some money somehow.
Yeah, it's hard to.
I mean, an infrastructure fund should be a mandated every year, say 300,000 or so, just because of serious issues. I mean, to me, that's my opinion. It should be a mandated. You should be putting at least 300 to 400 in there, because the road department, he's every year by the cost of equipment and wages. And, yeah. They're maxed out there with theirs. So that infrastructure fund is, to me, is a pretty important piece of the puzzle.
10,000, we got about 3% more than the 25% carryover, so 3% of the 10 million is 300,000. So we could put some more into the
I mean, that's my opinion.
infrastructure spending and not just leave it in the generic
Yeah.
carryover and still be at about 25%,
Yeah.
which is,
Yeah.
want to do that?
That would be my,
That's wise.
I mean, just,
We've got a boiler downstairs here, for example, that is,
That's the last one.
it's 30 years old.
Yeah.
So if we lose that, that's a, perfect example of, I guess you could wear another coat then.
Yeah.
There's also, depends on the outcome of the roof.
We may have
We need
issues
to
up
look
there.
at
We have that,
yeah.
that
deferred
whole
maintenance
issue of
budget
that.
for that.
I think we have defective material up there.
I don't think that's a bad idea.
No, I mean, we gotta do something, because that's a rainy day savings at 300,000. I mean,
So I'll put an extra 300,000 in that buildings line that right now is just, that's 500 from the sale.
sale,
We'll
yeah.
bump that up to 800. And maybe the sale will come through way higher than you expect, and you can
Do the courtroom.
do the courtroom, but maybe.
But then they got the locust shop
Locust
too. He's
shop,
looking
yeah.
for money for that. I guess if the sale of the building's gonna have to go back into infrastructure.
We wanted to,
That's-
we're taking an asset out of commission, out of service and we need to put it back into
And
service.
it's, yeah, has to go back.
Not into just budget, normal budget stuff.
And if we don't come up with somewhere to finance that building, then it comes out of Michael's
And he can't,
funds.
he can't,
And
yeah.
that's less rock.
Less rock or a road project or bridges that don't get to be built.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not good.
So I'll put, for the second run, I'll put 300,000 into the infrastructure spending. And I'll update the veterans grave things. Anything else you want to see changed for the second run? Once I do that, and if it still looks good, I'll bring a new version of this, and then I'll put up the paperwork to prepare, because we'll have to set the first public hearing for the proposed levy rates. I'll have to get past March 3rd, I think is the latest we can do it, so.
Okay.
And then after we have that public hearing is when we do that mailing.
Well,
Is there a way to put the information on that mailing in the future on Beacon so that people can see the information anytime they want to on their own property on Beacon?
On their own property, it's different question than having it on Beacon. What we put in the mailing is generic.
Okay.
But if
For
you
their own property.
that's not something we calculate. And it doesn't really mean anything because we're only looking at the two of the county's 3 levies. Part of the city's levy and part of the school district levy doesn't include any of the other levies. So, excuse me. So it doesn't really tell them what their property taxes are going to be. It just tells them for these specific levies, how much it'll change.
Any discussion from the state that you've heard through the auditors circuit of covering this mailing instead of the counties covering it?
It's this mailing that they mandated by 7/18 when we were down there for that last ISAC meeting. That's $1 million expense for the counties in the state. Total. $1 million.
Yep.
For something that is,
unfunded mandate.
and something that is confusing to the public.
Confusing and
Poor
doesn't
information.
really provide much information.
No. More
It would be
confusing.
better if it, like Shirley said, it broke everything down. It doesn't.
It doesn't. And
No.
we don't have the full levies yet because most of the levies don't get adopted till April 30th. So yeah, I mean, the idea is to let people know, I get the idea of it, but they aren't, what they've put in place doesn't really help. The idea is to let the taxpayers know if the budget authorities adopt the proposed budgets, how much it's gonna affect their taxes. But we don't really know that till everyone's done theirs and you get, because most people don't know how much of their tax bill is each levy authority. I mean, the school just passed this bond issue, so any 3 and 5 cents that we're lowering our levy rate is gonna be swallowed up in the whole thing anyway. They are gonna know the difference when they get their property tax bill next September.
That's where
Really,
that misconception comes in, that all that money's going to the county.
yeah. Yeah, because all is collected by the treasurer, but it gets divided up to the separate authorities, so.
And just food for thought, Shirley and I had that discussion with John Anderson last week. He's the only guy that knows how to run that old boiler downstairs.
Halverson, John Halverson.
Robertson.
Yes.
He is. He's
So-
babied that thing for all these almost 2 decades that he has been here. It is.
Do we
it
have
is-
bids for what a boiler would cost?
No, but oof,
Well, we should get one or several,
there
because
is-
it could just go out and then all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Be proactive, at least have an idea of what we need to we're looking at.
Yeah, it is still passing all inspections. Everything seems to be working fine. We're not, it's just that it's aging and we need to,
We're getting rid of 2 of them. Get rid of one already and we're getting rid of.
we're getting rid of a second one. So we're going from 3 to 1.
One of the first together they replaced that here. Last year, I think it was 40,000.
Library.
Yeah, we have 3 furnaces on it. So, I don't know if that number is right where this would fall in, but I imagine it would be somewhere close.
Yeah, if we do get, it'd be
The,
nice to know that in court.
We did get good news on because he had gotten the bid for to replace the elevator in the courthouse.
Yeah.
Because the elevator is so old that the last time it needed a control panel, but they couldn't get one anymore. And like the parts are no longer available. And so he got a bid to replace it. It was gonna be $115,000 or $120,000 to replace the elevator. But the Luther replaced an elevator that was the same model as our old one. And the company kept all the parts so that they have a stock of used parts for us to make our limp along a few more years.
We may get another decade out of that.
Yeah, we might.
So that was a windfall.
I mean, that's just an instant there where that infrastructure, we have to.
If
fund.
we have money
I mean,
available.
we have to fund that every year with 300,000 to 400,000 because everything costs 100,000. I mean,
Yeah.
50 or 100,000 or 200 to do something.
If the elevator goes out and we have some handicapped individual who needs to go to the courtroom.
We're-
Yeah. Goes out, we won't be 88.
Yeah.
That's why. So that's.
Oh,
I move to adjourn.
Second.
a motion and second for adjournment. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
I'll be staying for an hour after the meeting again for office hours.
12:45 tomorrow. Make sure we-
Right here.
I just thought that would be a good
Here,
talk.
over
I think the last one would be here.
here.
Or,
You're warmed up.
Yeah.
You got my call on Friday.
Yeah. No comment. I can sum that up in a minute. That's,
Now, if you talk to her and not to me,
no, that's just what we've been asked.
I'm gonna have to talk about it.
Until we know more, we're kind of quiet.
Don't have an opportunity.
But it's a question. You know,
Can I talk to anybody for an interview?
It was gonna be here.
I volunteered you, how nice.
If it has anything to do with what we were just talking about, it'd be no comment, that's all I'll
That's
say.
across the
Okay.
street with the
I don't wanna waste
county
your
attorney.
Sure, okay,
You could talk to our attorney across the street,
okay, yeah,
Andy Vandermountain,
I'll see, yeah. I'll let you inquire about Andy.
up right at the bottom of the hill.
Okay,
You'll see your step.
all right, thank you.
Thank you for understanding.
oh, it is nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to, you know,
No, but I just needed to ask, you know, so. All good. Hey, everyone's saying the same thing, so you're not gonna look, it's not like, no, we can't make you look bad.
What station are you with?
I have that hearing with the AG's on.
Are you all at Sinclair Station?
Sure that you.
No, we're
agree
great,
on this.
yeah.
There's been no decision made yet, so. that's-
There's still three of us in the room that don't not turn the meeting off.
Policy, or, you know, that's the way I'm taking that.
Did you just say there's a hearing scheduled?
There was
Was.
last Friday,
Yeah.
and they're still collecting information, so they don't know what their answers are, or what's going on yet, so.
Yeah.
But until we get more information, we don't have anything.
The big question is, did he actually file? Yeah. I mean, off the record, but I'm not.
Off the record, what I can say, is that law was put in 2018, I do believe, and no one's ever been charged. So,
Yeah.
or with it. So if, you know, if you wanted to contest the law, the federal judge determined whether that law
There are now only two of us in the room.
is even, you know.
It's a
even charged.
really weird thing. I called the governor's office last week, and of course I didn't talk to her, but, the only question I had, one of the questions that I had was,